Hey everyone, tonight we're exploring something truly remarkable, the quiet precision that held together one of history's most enduring civilizations. Before we settle in, take a moment to like this if you enjoy these peaceful historical journeys. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I love discovering how our global community comes together to explore these fascinating questions. Now get comfortable, dim those lights. Tonight, we're not chasing dramatic conquests or legendary pharaohs. Instead, we're going to examine something much quieter but equally profound, the measurement systems that made ancient Egypt possible. Let's begin our gentle journey into the world of Egyptian weights and measures. Picture, if you will, the profound silence of an ancient Egyptian workshop at dawn. Sunlight filters through narrow windows, illuminating granite measuring rods carved with precise notches. A master craftsman runs his fingers along these ancient standards, tools that have remained unchanged for centuries. In his hands lies something extraordinary, a measurement system so reliable, so carefully maintained, that it would support a civilization for over 3,000 years. Tonight, we're entering a world where measurement wasn't merely practical, but deeply sacred, where the distance from a pharaoh's elbow to his fingertip became the foundation for temples that still stand today. We'll discover how Egyptian scribes developed weight systems so precise they enabled trade networks stretching from Nubian gold mines to Mediterranean ports. We'll explore how farmers used standardized measures to divide their fields after the Nile's annual flood, creating agricultural systems that fed millions. This is the story of civilization's quiet foundation, how the ability to quantify, standardize, and reproduce measurements became the bedrock of complex society. In ancient Egypt, measurement connected earthly activities to divine order, practical needs to cosmic harmony. As we journey through temple workshops and riverside markets, we'll uncover how these ancient systems reflected profound cultural values about justice, order, and the relationship between human society and the natural world. In the hushed sanctity of ancient Egyptian temple workshops, where dust motes danced in shafts of morning light filtering through narrow windows, master craftsmen worked with tools that embodied a precision passed down through countless generations. The gentle tap of bronze chisels against granite created a rhythmic meditation as artisans carved precise notches into measuring rods, each mark representing a sacred unit that connected the earthly realm to divine order. These were not merely practical implements, but sacred instruments that carried within their measurements the very essence of cosmic harmony. The royal cubit, known in ancient Egyptian as Mehnesu, stood as the fundamental heartbeat of Egyptian measurement, a standard so revered that its creation required the most skilled craftsmen working under the watchful eyes of temple priests. This remarkable unit, stretching from the pharaoh's elbow to the tip of his outstretched middle finger, embodied far more than simple convenience. It represented the divine proportion made manifest, the sacred geometry that would guide the construction of monuments destined to endure for millennia. In the peaceful workshops of Memphis and Thebes, where the scent of cedar shavings mingled with frankincense from nearby temples, craftsmen understood that they were not merely creating tools, but preserving the very foundation of their civilization. The royal cubit measured approximately 52.5 centimeters, though this seemingly simple dimension carried within it layers of meaning that connected the human form to celestial mathematics. Each cubit rod was carved from the finest granite, its surface polished to a mirror-like finish that reflected not only light, but the profound care invested in its creation. The process of creating these sacred measuring standards followed rituals as ancient as the pyramids themselves. Master craftsmen would begin their work at dawn, when the air was cool and their hands steady. They would first select granite blocks from the quarries of Aswan, choosing stones free from flaws or imperfections. The granite would then be transported down the Nile on barges, a journey that itself required precise measurement to ensure the stone blocks fit properly within the vessel's carefully calculated dimensions. Once in the workshop, the transformation from raw stone to sacred measuring tool unfolded with meditative precision. The craftsmen would work in silence, their movements guided by generations of accumulated wisdom. They understood that each cubit rod must be identical to its predecessors, for the entire kingdom depended upon this consistency. The slightest variation could compromise the construction of temples, the calculation of field boundaries, or the assessment of tribute payments from distant provinces. The royal cubit was divided into 7 palms, each palm containing 4 fingers, creating a system of 28 finger widths that allowed for remarkably precise measurements. This subdivision reflected the Egyptian understanding of mathematical harmony, where numbers carried both practical and mystical significance. The 7 palms echoed the 7 sacred oils used in mummification, while the 28 fingers corresponded to the lunar month, connecting measurement to the celestial cycles that governed Egyptian life. In the great temple of Karnak, where shadows moved across ancient stones in patterns unchanged for thousands of years, priests maintained the master cubit rods that served as the ultimate standards for the entire kingdom. These precious instruments were housed in specially constructed chambers, protected from temperature variations and physical damage that might compromise their accuracy. The responsibility for maintaining these standards passed from one generation of priests to the next, creating an unbroken chain of measurement continuity that spanned centuries. The transmission of cubit standards throughout Egypt's vast territory required a sophisticated network of workshops and skilled craftsmen. Regional centers in cities like Elephantine, Edfu, and Dendera maintained their own sets of cubit rods, carefully calibrated against the master standards in Memphis and Thebes. This system ensured that a temple built in the far south would harmonize perfectly with monuments constructed in the northern delta, creating a visual unity that reinforced the kingdom's political and spiritual cohesion. The profound significance of the royal cubit extended beyond mere measurement into the realm of sacred architecture. When architects planned the Great Pyramid of Giza, they employed cubit measurements with such precision that modern surveyors marvel at the accuracy achieved without contemporary instruments. The pyramid's base measures exactly 440 royal cubits on each side, while its height reaches 280 cubits, creating proportions that embody mathematical relationships considered sacred by ancient Egyptian priests and architects. The gentle precision of Egyptian weights emerged from the quiet workshops of ancient Memphis, where master craftsmen worked with bronze and copper in the soft light of oil lamps, their movements guided by standards that would endure for millennia. In these peaceful chambers, the rhythmic tapping of hammers against metal created weight standards that would enable trust between strangers across vast distances, transforming simple stones into instruments of economic harmony. The Daban, weighing approximately 91 grams, became the fundamental unit around which Egyptian commerce quietly revolved. This weight standard originated in the practical needs of early metal workers who discovered that certain naturally occurring stones possessed remarkably consistent mass. Through generations of careful observation and refinement, these craftsmen developed techniques for creating bronze weights that matched these natural standards with extraordinary precision. The process required not merely technical skill, but a deep understanding of metal properties and casting techniques that were passed down through families of specialized artisans. In the temple workshops of Karnak, master metalworkers would begin their day before dawn, carefully stoking fires to achieve the precise temperatures needed for casting bronze weights. The metal had to be heated to exactly the right consistency, neither too hot nor too cool, requiring an intuitive understanding developed through years of patient practice. As the bronze reached the proper temperature, it would glow with a warm, golden light that reflected off the workshop walls, creating an atmosphere of quiet concentration and reverence for the craft. The creation of weight sets required extraordinary attention to detail. Each weight in a set had to relate mathematically to the others, following proportional relationships that reflected Egyptian understanding of fractions and mathematical harmony. The kite, representing 1/10 of a deben, demanded particular precision in its creation. Craftsmen would cast multiple versions of each weight, then carefully file and polish them until they achieved perfect balance on sensitive scales. This process could take weeks for a complete set, with each weight tested repeatedly against master standards kept in temple treasuries. From the merchant's perspective, these standardized weights represented something far more valuable than mere metal objects. They embodied trust itself, enabling commercial relationships between people who had never met and might never meet again. A trader from Elephantine could conduct business with a merchant from the Delta, confident that the bronze weights each carried would yield identical measurements. This trust extended across Egypt's borders, as Egyptian weight standards became recognized and accepted throughout the ancient Mediterranean world. The quiet revolution of standardized weights transformed daily life in ways that were both subtle and profound. In the bustling markets of Thebes, merchants would begin each day by carefully arranging their bronze weights on felt-lined boxes, each weight polished to a mirror finish that reflected the morning sun. The ritual of weighing precious metals, aromatic spices, or rare stones became a moment of shared ceremony between buyer and seller, both parties watching intently as the balance scales found their equilibrium. The technical sophistication of Egyptian balance scales matched the precision of their weights. These instruments, crafted from bronze and often decorated with hieroglyphic inscriptions, represented mechanical engineering of remarkable refinement. The fulcrum points were carefully calculated to ensure perfect balance, while the pans were shaped to hold various types of goods securely. Some scales included adjustable features that allowed merchants to compensate for wind or uneven surfaces, demonstrating an understanding of practical physics that was centuries ahead of its time. Administrative scribes recognized that weight standards served purposes far beyond simple commerce. The ability to measure and record the weight of tax payments, temple offerings, and state resources required systems that could be trusted across generations. Royal treasuries maintained master weight sets that served as ultimate references for all other weights throughout the kingdom. These master standards, often carved from granite or cast in precious metals, were treated with the same reverence accorded to religious artifacts. The integration of foreign weight standards through trade created fascinating cultural exchanges that enriched Egyptian measurement systems. When merchants from Mesopotamia or the Levant arrived in Egyptian ports, Their weights had to be carefully compared and converted to Egyptian standards. This process led to the development of sophisticated conversion tables and the creation of specialized weights designed for international trade. Some Egyptian weight sets included pieces calibrated to foreign standards, allowing merchants to conduct business using either system as circumstances required. The spiritual dimensions of weight measurement reflected deeper Egyptian beliefs about cosmic order and divine justice. The famous scene from the Book of the Dead, showing the weighing of the heart against the feather of Ma'at, drew its power from the everyday familiarity of precision weighing. This connection between earthly measurement and divine judgment reinforced the sacred nature of honest dealing and accurate measurement in Egyptian society. The preservation of weight standards required institutional continuity that spanned centuries. Temple workshops maintained not only the weights themselves, but also the knowledge and techniques needed to create new ones. Master craftsmen trained apprentices in the subtle arts of metal casting, teaching them to recognize the precise color of properly heated bronze and the feel of correctly balanced scales. This knowledge was considered sacred, passed down through generations of families who served as guardians of measurement precision. The mathematical sophistication underlying Egyptian weight systems revealed a culture that understood proportional relationships with remarkable clarity. The ability to create fractional weights that maintained precise relationships to the fundamental Deben unit required mathematical knowledge that would not be surpassed for centuries. This precision enabled complex calculations involving large quantities of goods, supporting the administrative needs of a civilization that managed resources on an unprecedented scale. Through these quiet innovations in weight standardization, ancient Egyptian craftsmen and administrators created foundations for economic relationships that would influence human civilization for millennia to come, their bronze weights serving as silent ambassadors of trust and precision across the ancient world. The gentle rhythm of agricultural life in ancient Egypt flowed with the measured precision of the Aurora, that fundamental unit of land measurement that connected human labor to the Earth's capacity for sustenance. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the Nile's waters had receded from the fertile fields, surveyors would emerge with their carefully maintained measuring ropes and wooden rods, beginning the contemplative work of re-establishing the boundaries that the annual flood had temporarily erased. The Aurora, representing the amount of land one man could plow in a single day, embodied a profound understanding of the relationship between human effort and agricultural productivity, creating a measurement system that honored both practical necessity and the natural rhythms of farming life. The development of this agricultural measurement system reflected Egypt's unique relationship with the Nile's predictable yet transformative flood cycle. Each year, as the sacred waters rose and spread across the valley floor, they brought not only life-giving silt, but also the temporary dissolution of human-made boundaries. When the waters receded, leaving behind their precious deposit of fertile mud, the patient work of remeasurement began. Surveyors, working in teams of 2 or 3, would stretch their ropes across the damp earth, their movements deliberate and unhurried, guided by measurement standards that had been refined over centuries of agricultural practice. The Aurora system demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of agricultural productivity that went far beyond simple area calculation. The ancient Egyptians recognized that not all land was equally fertile, and their measurement practices reflected this nuanced appreciation of soil quality and agricultural potential. Fields closer to the river, enriched by annual flooding, were measured with different expectations than those on higher ground, that depended on irrigation. The surveyor's quiet expertise lay in their ability to assess not just the dimensions of a field, but its capacity to sustain the farmer's family and contribute to the kingdom's agricultural wealth. From the farmer's perspective, the aurora provided essential security in an agricultural system where land tenure could be affected by the Nile's annual transformation. When the floodwaters receded, farmers anxiously awaited the surveyor's work, knowing that their family's prosperity depended on the accurate restoration of their field boundaries. The measurement process became a ritual of renewal, as familiar and essential as the planting of seeds. Farmers would often assist the surveyors, their intimate knowledge of their land's characteristics, helping to ensure that measurements reflected not just geometric precision, but agricultural reality. The technical challenges faced by Egyptian surveyors required remarkable skill and patience. Working with measuring ropes that could stretch or shrink with moisture, they developed techniques for maintaining accuracy across varying conditions. The ropes themselves became objects of careful attention, treated with oils and stored in specific ways to preserve their reliability. Master surveyors would check their tools against standard measures kept in local temples, ensuring that their work maintained consistency with the kingdom's broader measurement systems. The administrative implications of agricultural measurement extended far beyond individual farms to encompass the entire structure of Egyptian taxation and resource management. Scribes accompanied surveying teams, carefully recording not just the dimensions of fields, but their assessed productivity and the obligations they would generate. This information flowed through a complex administrative network that connected village-level measurements to provincial assessments and ultimately to the royal granaries that sustained Egypt's complex civilization. The integration of agricultural measurements with taxation systems revealed the sophisticated understanding of economic relationships that characterized Egyptian administration. Rather than imposing uniform tax rates, the system recognized that agricultural productivity varied with soil quality, irrigation access, and other factors that the aurora measurement could help quantify. This nuanced approach to taxation reflected a deep appreciation for the complexities of agricultural life and the need to balance state requirements with farmers' capacity to pay. The seasonal rhythm of agricultural measurement created a contemplative cycle that connected human activity to natural processes. After the flood's recession, the careful work of boundary restoration proceeded with unhurried precision. During the growing season, fields were monitored and their productivity assessed. At harvest time, the actual yield could be compared with the expectations built into the aurora system, providing feedback that refined future measurements and assessments. The social dimensions of agricultural measurement extended beyond individual farms to encompass community relationships and collective responsibilities. Village communities often worked together during the remeasurement process, sharing labor and expertise while maintaining social bonds that were essential for agricultural cooperation. The aurora system thus became not just a tool for individual land tenure, but a foundation for community organization and mutual support. The enduring wisdom of Egyptian agricultural measurement lay in its recognition that effective land management required both technical precision and deep understanding of natural processes. The aurora system succeeded because it honored the relationship between human labor and land productivity, while providing the standardization necessary for complex social organization. In the quiet work of ancient surveyors, stretching their ropes across fields blessed by the Nile's annual gift, we can glimpse a profound understanding of how measurement systems must serve both practical needs and deeper human values, creating foundations for prosperity that could endure across millennia of agricultural life. The gentle art of measuring capacity in ancient Egypt unfolded in the quiet rhythms of daily sustenance, where the Hecate served as the fundamental unit that connected the abundance of the Nile's harvest to the careful distribution of life's necessities. In the peaceful granaries that dotted the Egyptian landscape, workers moved with practiced precision, their hands guiding standardized vessels through motions that had remained unchanged for generations. The soft whisper of grain, cascading into measured containers, created a meditative soundtrack to the essential work of quantifying abundance, transforming the chaotic plenty of harvest into the ordered portions that would sustain communities through the year. The Hecate, equivalent to approximately 4.8 liters in modern measurements, emerged from the practical wisdom of bakers and granary keepers who understood that consistency in measurement meant security in sustenance. Temple workshops hummed with quiet activity as craftsmen shaped pottery vessels to exact specifications, their skilled hands guided by master potters who had inherited the sacred knowledge of precise capacity. These standard vessels, fired in kilns that glowed like small suns in the Egyptian dawn, became the tools through which society organized its most fundamental resource, food itself. Within the sophisticated mathematical framework that supported these measurements, Egyptian scribes developed an elegant system of fractions that allowed for precise subdivision of the Hecate. The Eye of Horus fractions, each representing a portion of the whole, enabled calculations of remarkable accuracy. A scribe working in the peaceful confines of a temple scriptorium might spend hours calculating the precise amounts needed for daily bread rations, his reed pen moving across papyrus with the careful deliberation of one who understood that mathematical precision translated directly into human welfare. The gentle scratch of writing implements on papyrus created a contemplative atmosphere where abstract numbers connected to the tangible reality of filled bellies and satisfied communities. The daily rhythm of capacity measurement extended into every household, where women became the quiet guardians of domestic precision. In modest homes along the Nile, mothers taught daughters the subtle art of measuring grain for daily bread, their hands demonstrating the proper technique for leveling grain in measuring vessels. These intimate moments of knowledge transmission, repeated countless times across generations, created an unbroken chain of practical wisdom that ensured consistency in food preparation and household management. The gentle sound of grain being measured for the morning meal became as familiar as the call of ibises along the riverbank. Temple kitchens represented the pinnacle of capacity measurement precision, where priests prepared sacred bread and beer offerings with meticulous attention to exact proportions. The quiet concentration of religious bakers, working in the pre-dawn hours when the temple complex lay shrouded in peaceful silence, demonstrated how measurement standards supported not merely practical needs but spiritual obligations. Each measured portion of grain carried the weight of religious duty, connecting the earthly act of baking to the cosmic order that Egyptians believed governed all existence. The gentle rhythm of measuring, mixing, and baking created a meditative practice that honored both divine requirements and human sustenance. The sophisticated fractional system that supported capacity measurements reflected a profound understanding of mathematical relationships that would influence civilizations for millennia. In the peaceful atmosphere of temple schools, young scribes learned to manipulate these fractions with remarkable facility, their minds grasping concepts that connected abstract mathematical principles to practical applications. The quiet concentration required for these calculations fostered a contemplative approach to learning that emphasized precision, patience, and the careful attention to detail that characterized Egyptian administrative excellence. Granary administrators, working in the cool shadows of massive storage facilities, developed record-keeping systems of extraordinary sophistication that tracked not merely quantities, but qualities of stored grain. Their careful notations, inscribed on pottery shards and papyrus scrolls, created archives that documented the ebb and flow of agricultural abundance across seasons and years. The gentle sound of stylus on clay, repeated countless times in the methodical work of inventory management, represented the quiet foundation upon which Egyptian prosperity rested. These administrators understood that accurate measurement enabled not merely current distribution, but future planning, allowing society to weather the inevitable fluctuations of agricultural production. The connection between capacity measurement and social welfare manifested most clearly in the distribution of rations to workers engaged in great construction projects. At sites like the pyramid complexes of Giza, careful measurement of food portions ensured that thousands of workers received adequate nutrition for their demanding labor. The peaceful efficiency of these distribution systems, where measured portions of bread and beer sustained one of humanity's greatest architectural achievements, demonstrated how precise measurement standards supported not merely individual welfare, but collective accomplishment on an unprecedented scale. Through the contemplative lens of capacity measurement, we glimpse the profound wisdom of a civilization that understood how careful attention to fundamental standards creates the foundation for complex social organization. The quiet work of measuring grain, repeated countless times in countless locations across the Egyptian landscape, represented more than mere practical necessity. It embodied a philosophical approach to order and precision that would influence human civilization for thousands of years to come. In the gentle warmth of Egyptian workshops, where shafts of sunlight filtered through high windows and illuminated floating particles of cotton and flax, the quiet revolution of textile measurement unfolded with methodical precision. The standardization of linen quality through careful measurement of thread count and fabric dimensions represented one of ancient Egypt's most sophisticated achievements in economic organization, creating a foundation for prosperity that would endure for millennia. The soft whisper of linen threads being counted by skilled weavers created a peaceful rhythm that echoed through workshops from Memphis to Thebes. These artisans, working with inherited knowledge passed down through generations, understood that their careful measurements were creating more than mere cloth. They were weaving the economic fabric of Egyptian civilization itself. Each thread counted, each dimension measured, contributed to a system of quality control that would make Egyptian linen the most prized textile in the ancient world. The development of standardized linen grades began in the early dynastic period, when the finest white linen became associated with divine purity and royal authority. Temple workshops, where priests worked in contemplative silence, established the first systematic approaches to measuring thread, fineness, and fabric density. The gentle sound of counting, 1 thread, 2 threads, 3, became a meditation on precision that connected earthly craft to cosmic order. These early standards, carved into stone tablets and preserved in temple archives, created the foundation for an industry that would span continents. From the weaver's perspective, measurement standards provided both security and pride in craftsmanship. Master weavers Their fingers, sensitized by years of handling the finest flax fibers, could determine thread quality through touch alone. Yet they relied on precise counting methods to ensure consistency. The peaceful concentration required for this work, counting threads in fabric samples, measuring the exact width of loom settings, calculating the proper tension for different grades of linen, created a contemplative practice that connected craft to spiritual discipline. The workshops themselves reflected this attention to measurement precision. Looms were calibrated to specific dimensions, with wooden measuring rods marking exact spacing for different fabric grades. The gentle click of heddles moving in measured rhythm created a soundscape of productivity that spoke to the deep satisfaction of work performed according to ancient standards. Women weavers, working in groups that fostered both efficiency and social connection, developed techniques for maintaining consistent thread count across large pieces of fabric, their conversations flowing around the steady rhythm of their craft. Merchant perspectives revealed how textile measurements enabled Egypt's emergence as a major linen exporter. Traders, sitting in the shade of market stalls while examining fabric samples, relied on standardized measurements to negotiate with foreign buyers who might never have visited Egypt. The development of quality grades, from the finest royal linen with thread counts approaching modern standards to sturdy everyday fabrics for common use, created a sophisticated market system that could accommodate diverse needs and budgets. The religious dimension of textile measurement added profound meaning to this practical activity. Temple workshops, where the finest linen was prepared for mummification and religious ceremonies, developed the most exacting standards. Priests working in the peaceful atmosphere of sacred spaces measured linen not only for practical purposes, but as an expression of devotion to divine order. The preparation of mummy wrappings required precise calculations of fabric length and width, with measurements recorded in hieroglyphic texts that treated the process as both craft and ritual. International trade relationships flourished through these standardized measurements. Egyptian linen, measured according to consistent standards, became a trusted commodity in markets from Mesopotamia to the Aegean. Foreign merchants, initially skeptical of distant quality claims, learned to rely on Egyptian measurement systems as guarantees of value. This trust, built through generations of consistent quality, created economic relationships that transcended political boundaries and cultural differences. The mathematical sophistication required for textile measurement contributed to broader developments in Egyptian numeracy. Scribes, calculating thread counts and fabric dimensions, developed fractional systems that could express precise measurements in practical terms. The peaceful work of recording these calculations, with scribes sitting cross-legged in workshop corners while carefully noting measurements on papyrus, created archives of technical knowledge that supported industrial consistency across vast distances. Quality control methods evolved through careful observation and systematic measurement. Master craftsmen developed techniques for testing fabric strength, measuring thread uniformity, and assessing color consistency that relied on precise measurement standards. The gentle process of quality assessment, stretching fabric samples to test strength, counting threads in measured squares, comparing colors against standard samples, created a culture of excellence that permeated Egyptian textile production. The social implications of textile measurement extended beyond economic considerations. Standardized linen grades created clear markers of social status, with the finest fabrics reserved for royal and religious use, while ensuring that even common citizens had access to quality textiles measured according to consistent standards. This democratization of quality achieved through measurement precision, contributed to social stability by ensuring that Egyptian textile production served all levels of society. The legacy of Egyptian textile measurement wisdom influenced civilizations throughout the Mediterranean world. Greek and Roman textile workers, learning from Egyptian techniques, adapted these measurement standards to their own production methods. The peaceful transmission of this knowledge through trade relationships and cultural exchange created a foundation for textile quality that would influence European production for centuries to come. The gentle lapping of the Nile against wooden hulls created a rhythmic soundtrack to one of ancient Egypt's most sophisticated measurement achievements. The harmonious integration of time and distance through the Iteru system. In the cool morning hours, as mist rose from the sacred river, boat captains would consult carved stone markers along the banks, their weathered hands tracing measurements that had guided travelers for countless generations. These markers represented far more than simple distance notation. They embodied a profound understanding of how human movement through space could be quantified, standardized, and transformed into a reliable foundation for commerce, administration, and daily life. The Iteru, measuring approximately 20,000 royal cubits, or about 10.5 kilometers, emerged from the practical wisdom of river navigation. Unlike the rigid measurements of architecture or the precise weights of precious metals, the Iteru acknowledged the fluid nature of travel itself. Ancient Egyptian scribes recognized that distance meant little without considering the time required to traverse it, and time held different meanings depending on the season, the direction of travel, and the cargo being transported. A fully loaded grain barge moving upstream against the current during low water season required vastly different calculations than a swift messenger boat riding the flood downstream. In the peaceful workshops of Memphis and Thebes, master navigators worked with scribes to create detailed river maps that integrated distance measurements with seasonal variations. These documents, inscribed on papyrus with meticulous care, recorded not just the Iteru between major cities, but the subtle factors that affected travel time, the locations of dangerous rapids during low water, the seasonal patterns of favorable winds, the positions of sandbanks that shifted with each flood cycle. The scribes who created these navigational aids understood that measurement served not merely as abstract calculation, but as practical wisdom that could mean the difference between successful commerce and dangerous delay. The standardization of the Iteru system required remarkable coordination across Egypt's vast territory. From the first cataract at Aswan to the Mediterranean Delta, a network of stone markers and wooden posts marked precise distances along the riverbank. These markers, carved with hieroglyphic notations and maintained by local temple communities, created a measurement infrastructure that supported the movement of goods, people, and information across one of the ancient world's most extensive kingdoms. The quiet work of maintaining these markers, replacing wooden posts weathered by flood seasons, recarving stone inscriptions worn by wind and sand, represented a continuous commitment to measurement precision that spanned centuries. Military commanders found particular value in the Iteru system's integration of time and distance. Campaign planning required precise knowledge of how quickly armies could move between strategic positions, how long supply lines could be maintained, and where troops could find reliable water and provisions. Ancient Egyptian military papyri reveal sophisticated calculations that combined Iteru measurements with seasonal factors, troop composition, and supply requirements. A chariot unit traveling light could cover multiple Iteru per day, while infantry columns burdened with siege equipment moved at carefully calculated slower rates. The gentle precision of these measurements enabled military success through careful planning rather than dramatic heroics. The administrative implications of standardized distance measurement extended far beyond military concerns. Royal messengers carried official communications across the kingdom using relay stations positioned at measured intervals along major routes. These stations, maintained by local communities as part of their civic obligations, provided fresh horses, food, and shelter for official travelers. The timing of these relay systems depended entirely on the reliable measurement of distances and the predictable calculation of travel times. A message from Thebes to Memphis could be delivered within a precisely estimated time frame, enabling the coordination of complex administrative activities across vast distances. Trade relationships throughout the ancient world benefited from Egypt's sophisticated approach to distance measurement. Merchants planning expeditions to Nubian gold mines or Syrian cedar forests could calculate journey times, provision requirements, and seasonal timing with remarkable accuracy. The ITRU system's integration with astronomical observations allowed traders to coordinate their travels with favorable weather patterns and seasonal trade winds. Peaceful commercial relationships flourished when all parties could rely on consistent, accurate measurements of time and distance. The philosophical implications of measuring distance through time reflected deeper Egyptian understanding of the interconnectedness of space, movement, and cosmic order. Unlike purely spatial measurements, the Itaru acknowledged that distance existed in relationship to human experience and natural rhythms. A journey of 10 Itaru held different meanings depending on the season, the purpose of travel, and the resources available. This nuanced approach to measurement reflected the Egyptian worldview that emphasized harmony between human activities and natural cycles, creating measurement systems that served practical needs while honoring cosmic order. As evening shadows lengthened across the Nile, boat crews would moor their vessels at measured intervals along the riverbank, their stopping points determined by calculations that had been refined across millennia. The quiet confidence with which these ancient travelers navigated their world reflected the deep trust that standardized measurement systems had earned through consistent reliability and careful maintenance, creating a foundation for complex civilization that would endure for thousands of years. The gentle wisdom of ancient Egyptian measurement systems extends far beyond the boundaries of the Nile Valley, flowing like the great river itself through the channels of human civilization. In the quiet halls of museums around the world, where ancient Cubit rods rest in climate-controlled cases, we can trace the profound influence these measurement standards had on the development of human understanding. The precision achieved by Egyptian craftsmen working in peaceful workshops thousands of years ago established principles that would guide the measurement practices of civilizations yet to come. The transmission of Egyptian measurement knowledge occurred through the natural rhythms of trade and cultural exchange. Greek merchants arriving at Egyptian ports with their ships laden with olive oil and wine encountered measurement systems of remarkable sophistication. These traders, accustomed to their own regional standards, found themselves learning the elegant logic of the Egyptian Cubit and the practical wisdom of the Deben weight system. In the peaceful exchanges of the marketplace, where Egyptian scribes carefully weighed precious metals and measured fine linen, foreign visitors absorbed not just the technical details of these systems, but their underlying philosophy of precision and order. The influence of Egyptian measurement wisdom can be traced through the scholarly traditions of Alexandria, where Greek mathematicians and philosophers studied in the great library surrounded by the accumulated knowledge of millennia. Here, in quiet study chambers overlooking the Mediterranean, Scholars like Euclid encountered Egyptian geometric principles that had been refined through centuries of practical application in temple construction and land surveying. The Egyptian understanding of measurement as a bridge between earthly needs and cosmic harmony resonated deeply with Greek philosophical traditions, creating a synthesis that would influence mathematical thinking for centuries. Archaeological discoveries continue to reveal the extraordinary sophistication of ancient Egyptian measurement systems. In recent decades, patient excavations have uncovered workshop areas where master craftsmen created and maintained measurement standards with remarkable precision. These discoveries, made in the gentle light of dawn as archaeologists carefully brush sand from ancient tools, reveal a level of technical achievement that commands profound respect. Modern analysis of surviving cubit rods shows variations of less than a millimeter across specimens separated by centuries, demonstrating a consistency that speaks to the deep institutional knowledge of Egyptian craft traditions. The philosophical implications of Egyptian measurement practices extend into profound questions about the nature of order and understanding. In the quiet contemplation of these ancient systems, we encounter a worldview that saw measurement not merely as a practical tool, but as a means of participating in divine order. The Egyptian craftsman, working by oil lamplight to create a perfectly calibrated weight, understood himself to be engaged in sacred work that connected human activity to cosmic principles. This integration of practical and spiritual dimensions offers modern civilization valuable insights into the relationship between precision and meaning. The preservation of Egyptian measurement knowledge through Islamic scholarship represents one of history's most remarkable examples of cultural continuity. In the peaceful scriptoriums of medieval Baghdad and Cairo, where scholars worked by candlelight to translate and preserve ancient texts, Egyptian measurement principles found new expression in Islamic mathematical and architectural traditions. The careful work of these medieval scholars, who understood themselves to be guardians of ancient wisdom, ensured that Egyptian measurement philosophy would continue to influence human understanding long after the last hieroglyphs were carved. Modern scientific measurement owes profound debts to the foundational work of ancient Egyptian craftsmen and scribes. The principle of anthropometric measurement, first systematized in the Egyptian Cubit, continues to influence ergonomic design and human-centered measurement systems. The Egyptian understanding of standardization as a foundation for complex social organization anticipated modern insights into the role of measurement in enabling trust and cooperation across vast networks of human activity. In the quiet moments of reflection that this ancient wisdom invites, we can appreciate how the patient work of Egyptian measurement specialists created systems that supported one of history's most enduring civilizations. Their legacy reminds us that true precision emerges not from hurried innovation, but from the careful refinement of understanding across generations. The peaceful workshops where Egyptian craftsmen perfected their measurement standards offer a model of how human beings can create lasting institutions through dedication to excellence and deep respect for the wisdom of accumulated experience. The enduring harmony between human needs and the systems created to meet them through careful measurement continues to inspire modern approaches to standardization and precision, connecting our contemporary world to the ancient wisdom of the Nile Valley. As we reach the gentle conclusion of our contemplative journey through the measurement wisdom of ancient Egypt, we find ourselves surrounded by the profound peace that comes from understanding how human ingenuity creates lasting harmony. The quiet workshops where craftsmen carved precise notches into granite cubit rods, the peaceful granaries where scribes measured grain with mathematical precision, the serene textile centers where weavers created linen to exacting standards. All these scenes blend together into a tapestry of human achievement built upon the foundation of careful measurement and thoughtful standardization. The royal cubit, with its sacred proportions connecting human form to divine order, reminds us that measurement was never merely practical for the ancient Egyptians, but deeply spiritual. Each carefully carved measuring rod represented a connection between earthly precision and cosmic harmony, between the work of human hands and the eternal patterns that govern the universe. As we contemplate this ancient wisdom, we feel the same sense of order and peace that guided those patient craftsmen as they worked by lamplight, creating tools that would serve their civilization for millennia. The gentle precision of Egyptian weights, from simple stone comparisons to sophisticated bronze standards, speaks to the human need for trust and fairness in all our interactions. The quiet conversations between merchants as they verified weights before conducting business, the methodical work of metal workers casting bronze standards in temple workshops, the peaceful market scenes where precious metals were weighed on delicate balance scales. All these moments remind us that measurement creates the foundation for honest relationships and mutual understanding. In the rhythm of agricultural measurement, we discover how the ancient Egyptians found harmony between human needs and natural cycles. The Aurora system, based on the amount of land one person could plow in a day, connected measurement to the fundamental rhythms of life and work. Surveyors working in dawn light, using ropes and measuring rods to mark field boundaries after the Nile's annual flood, created a system that provided security and prosperity for countless generations. Their peaceful, methodical work reminds us that true stability comes from understanding and working with natural patterns rather than against them. The contemplative art of capacity measurement, with the Hecat as the standard for grain and the development of sophisticated fractional systems, reveals how the ancient Egyptians transformed daily necessities into opportunities for mathematical beauty and precision. The quiet moments in temple kitchens, where priests measured ingredients for sacred bread, the peaceful granary scenes where workers carefully measured grain using standardized vessels, all speak to the profound satisfaction that comes from work done with care and precision. As we reflect on the enduring legacy of Egyptian measurement wisdom, we feel a deep sense of connection to these ancient practitioners of precision. Their quiet work created systems so effective and harmonious that they remained unchanged for centuries, supporting complex civilization across vast distances and long periods of time. The peaceful continuity of their measurement traditions, passing from generation to generation, reminds us that the most profound achievements often come not from dramatic innovations, but from patient, careful work that creates lasting foundations for human flourishing. Let your mind now rest in the peaceful workshops of ancient Egypt, where the gentle sound of chisels marking measurements mingles with the distant chanting of priests. Feel the satisfaction of work done with precision and care, the quiet pride of creating standards that will serve countless generations. Allow yourself to settle into the rhythm of ancient craftsmen, their movements guided by measurement standards that connected earthly work to divine harmony. As you drift deeper into peaceful contemplation, imagine the warm Egyptian sunlight filtering through workshop windows, illuminating the careful work of scribes and craftsmen. Feel the gentle weight of history settling around you like a comfortable blanket, connecting you to the eternal human quest for order, precision, and understanding. Let the wisdom of ancient measurement traditions guide you into the deepest, most restful sleep, where the harmony of human achievement and natural order creates perfect peace.